Recognize the gentlewoman from California, Ms. Lofgren, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Attorney General, for your presence here today. I want to return to the issue of the freedom of the press. You know, Mr. Sensenbrenner quoted certain sections of the Code of Federal Regulations, but I'd like to read the beginning of that section, which says, because freedom of the press can be no broader than the freedom of reporters to investigate and report the news, the prosecutorial power of the government should not be used in such a way that it impairs a reporter's responsibility to cover as broadly as possible controversial public issues. This policy statement is thus intended to provide protection for the news media from forms of compulsory process, whether civil or criminal, which might impair the news-gathering function. Now, I realize there are exceptions and that you have recused yourself, but it seems to me clear that the actions of the Department have in fact impaired the First Amendment. Reporters who might have previously believed that a confidential source would speak to them would no longer have that level of confidence, because those confidential sources are now going to be chilled in their relationship with the press. Whether or not this impairment of the First Amendment was in fact justified by the criminal case before you is not something I'm sure you're at liberty to discuss in a public forum. But I still don't understand, number one, why and how you recused yourself. I'm concerned, it says no subpoena may be issued to any member of the news media or for the telephone toll records of any member of the news media without the express authorization of the Attorney General. Did you delegate that express authorization in writing to Mr. Cole?
No, I don't think the recusal, we've looked for this. I don't think there is anything in writing with regard to my recusal, which is, again, not...
No, but the question was, what about the requirement in the code that you expressly approve? Now, you recused yourself. Was that express authorization authority delegated to Mr. Cole?
Once I recused myself in that matter, he in essence, not in essence, he does become the acting Attorney General with all the powers that the Attorney General has.
Could you explain again, or maybe you can't, let me ask a hypothetical, because I realize you can't talk about this case, but the regulations say that these records should not be obtained in a compulsory manner unless, and that there should be negotiation with the news media unless it would impair the negotiations. Now, the New York Times has got an opinion piece today expressing the concern that how could this be the fact. I mean, the records, the telephone records, would not disappear if the AP had been notified. I mean, they were in the possession of the phone companies, never at risk for disappearing. How could it ever be the case that the availability of this information would be impaired?
Well, this is both an ongoing matter and an ongoing matter about which I know nothing. So I'm not in a position really to answer that question. But here's what I do think. I do think that at the conclusion of this matter, and when I can be back involved in it, that given the attention that it has generated, that some kind of after-action analysis would be appropriate. And I will pledge to this committee and to the American people that I will engage in such an analysis. But that would be after the case is done and when I can appropriately be involved in it once
Well,
again.
I think that is good. And I wonder if we might also, Mr. Chairman, have Mr. Cole come before the committee, since he's the one who knows this information. But, you know, I don't know how long this case will go on, and since you've recused yourself, certainly you would not be in a position to tell us that. But it seems to me the damage done to a free press is substantial and will continue until corrective action is taken. And I would hope that we might be able to further pursue this, Mr. Chairman, and get some clarification on future action, either through legislative efforts or through further revision of the Code of Federal Regulation by the administration, because I think this is a very serious matter that I think concerns all of us, no matter our party affiliation. And with that, I would yield back.